Tonight on Studio 12, we're taking on topics impacting Colorado families, from parents learning how to navigate those challenging teenage years to the increasing role artificial intelligence is having in our classrooms and how Colorado educators are keeping up with this technology.
Plus, how to maximize our summer gardens and extend our crops as we head into fall. Denver Urban Gardens shows us what to do.
And we wrap it up with a high-energy live performance from Latin rock band Los Alcos.
It's all ahead right now on Studio 12.
From the 5 Points Media Center in the heart of Denver, Colorado, this is Studio 12.
Hello, I'm Ryan Harrer.
And I'm Bazi Kanani. Welcome to Studio 12. Raising teenagers involves effective communication, balancing their growing need for independence, and of course, just really a whole lot of patience from parents as well.
In a previous show, family therapist Ryan Long gave teens direct mental health advice as they head back into school. And tonight, we now hear his advice directly for the parents of teens.
We hear about supporting your teen and yourself through these transformative years, along with how to recognize signs of deeper emotional struggle. Take a look.
Parents, raising teens, not easy, especially nowadays. I have raised many kids through the teen years, and it is often a roller coaster. It is very difficult. Here are a few things for you. Parents, self-care for you. Your kids are trying to find themselves. They're trying to find their identity. And remember, who they are or how they are is not necessarily who you are. They are trying to find their way. They might be making decisions that you don't necessarily agree with. Be careful how you come down on them, because that could be more about you than really them. It's more about your expectations or disappointments rather than them. The key is, parents, listen, validate, be there for them. Expect a bit of a roller coaster and expect for them to make mistakes. That's part of them growing up. That's part of them learning. That's part of them finding themselves. If it's always this, everything is catastrophic and just everything is the end of the world and you didn't do this and you never do, they're going to start possibly feeling shame and down on themselves. Focus on the wins. If they're doing something well, let that be the focus. Often when kids go back to school, they are going to have a little anxiety, and they might, maybe not be able to sleep as well right before school starts, like on their first day, or they may not sleep as well before like a test. They might just have some worries about a class or a teacher or a friendship or a relationship. That's all gonna be within the normal range. It's gonna be a little difficult at times to distinguish between what is normal and what is more serious, because all kids are a little bit different. When it's more serious is these prolonged, maybe episodes of depression or anxiety where you can tell they're feeling stuck. Every day, they just keep talking about how this person's difficult, or they're feeling off, or they're feeling down, or things that they used to like to do, now no longer they do. Isolation. So if you notice that they're not wanting to do anything or hang out with any of their friends, that tells you something's probably more is going on. Listen, talk to your kids, validate them. Make sure that you're getting and that you're understanding their experience. You're empathizing with them. You're saying, yes, I get it. First day of school is difficult, or there's anxiety, and being able to share your emotions, that's really helpful. Most parents, when the kids get in the car, they say, how was your day? And the most typical response from a teenager is gonna be fine, good, okay, all right. As parents, if we're really trying to gauge and or connect and find out truly how our kids did throughout the day, even as simple as highs, lows. You know, what was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? That engages a different part of their brain, and now it's open-ended. Be mindful when you ask it. I've noticed that with a lot of teenagers, if you ask it right when they get in the car, sometimes they are not ready to answer that question yet. They've just spent a full day, they're tired and exhausted. So you know your kid's best. Sometimes you ask that at dinner. Sometimes you ask that right before they go to bed. You know your kid, you'll know the best time to ask them where you're most likely going to get more of like an expanded response rather than just a, yeah, good. Also with conversation starters, when you ask them about their day, or you want to talk about highs, lows, or you could do rosebud thorns. Rosebud thorn is where it's like, the good thing is the rose, the thing that was kind of difficult was the thorn, and the bud is something they're looking forward to. So again, that's another good conversation starter. With raising kids is radical acceptance. Accepting them for who they are and loving them unconditionally. We got to remember, we're not just trying to get them through the teenage years. And if we can do these years well, it's going to increase the chances of us feeling and being connected to our adult kids.
I love that tip there about asking open-ended questions, highs and lows, just remembering to draw out that detail.
Any detail you can get, and at least you have some tips now. I'm just glad I don't have to deal with this for many, many years because my boy is 9 months old, but now I'm prepared.
You'll be there soon enough.
Oh, gosh.
Well, from parenting teens, we switch now to learning how to keep our gardens going well into the fall season. We head outside to PBS 12's Erica McClarity and Jungle Judy, our premier gardening expert.
Summer is winding down into the fall, but your crops don't have to. I am here with the wonderful Jungle Judy, and she's going to show me how to take your crops into the fall season, right?
Right. So, Erica, fall is my absolute favorite time of the year because during fall, I follow the seasons, the shortening daylight hours, and I learn to actually prune extra foliage off plants that are getting out of control.
Okay.
That squash that may be 4 feet long. I learned to harvest things at the right time. I learned to cultivate my soil carefully around my plants. And then I learned to cover the earth so it stays nice and cool and permeable to water.
This is a lot to learn, but I believe in myself. Where are we going to start?
I think we're going to start in a garden plot in our Horseborn Community Garden where we can demonstrate all those things.
Okay.
Shall we do that?
Let's head out.
Let's head on out. So today we have some wonderful winter squash. We have a butternut, but we've got a lot of extra blossoms. And I'm going to have Erica prune back.
Okay.
First of all, right here.
Okay. This is my very first prune.
She's not only going to use the pruner, but then she's going to use her finger to pinch out this blossom.
Okay.
And if it's hard to pinch off, you can use the... Right, what she has done then is remove extra growth, which is going to allow more of this ripening for fruit that's already on the plant.
It feels so weird pinching
So
off
it does
something
weird.
so
I know
beautiful
it feels
and new.
like you're killing the plant. And actually, I'm going to have her really quickly take the pruner. That's that blossom that's not going to have time. It would need about 45 days. And Miss Erica, can I have you? We're going to do some pretty rampant pruning. Go ahead and prune back to here, right over there.
Okay.
So we've actually removed this extra growth, some of which looks healthy, but any of these blossoms which would open would not have time to produce fruit. So we're allowing that squash plant to maximize its energy in producing the fruit that's already ready.
see.
Erica, step in here.
Okay.
And we like to use boards to step on so we're not compacting the soil. I know it's hard. I'm going to have you work when we're harvesting tomatoes.
Okay.
We prefer to not let them get completely ripe at this time. They
Really?
will ripen indoors outside the fridge.
Okay.
I'm going to hold this. You are going to cut it. Don't pull it.
All right.
Cut it right there. Erica's going to cut.
Look Look at that beautiful
This
thing.
is about 2 days away from eating.
It's so pretty.
That's going to promote more blossoming, but we're going to do one other thing. As long as we have the tomatoes. Do you remember the way we prune back blossoms on the squash?
Yes, I do.
We're going to do a similar thing on these tomatoes. I'm going to have you just prune it back to here.
All right.
The whole thing, the stem, let me hold it. You're going to prune right there. Oh, pardon me, right there, right above it.
Right here.
You got it.
And chop.
All of it, blossoms and all, foliage. Oh, I
Okay.
know, you
It's
might
so
think you're
sad.
killing
I
the
know, I know,
plant,
I know.
but again, you're promoting ripening for fruit,
Giving
which
it
is
more
lower
energy.
down on the plant,
Got it,
okay? So another thing that's really important is our soils have worked really hard, okay? So we need to make sure that the water will permeate, will infiltrate into the soil. I like to keep the soils nice and loose, so you prune back the tomato. She's lightly going to cultivate, so she's not digging deeply like she would when we plant. Between
What are these
soil.
little sprouts?
These are weeds, but look
Oh,
what you can do
okay.
with the hori-hori. You can cultivate them right into the soil.
The weeds into the soil?
Yeah, they're not going to
What?
sprout again.
Okay.
It provides organic material.
You don't just yank them.
No, this is so easy. Good job on using the hori-hori. You can see how nice and loose and soft that is.
And I want to feel it because you taught me.
Can you feel how much different that
Ooh,
feels
yeah.
than this? That feels hard.
Nice and
The roots
cool.
can go down deeply on this. I would almost want to sit on that if I were a worm.
Yeah?
Would you want to crawl through that?
Absolutely.
I think we would
This is
love to cover the
worm-headed.
soil. Will you get a big handful of that straw?
Absolutely.
That way the birds won't say, oh. And Erica, I'm going to have you spread it around the base of the plant. This is mulch. This is organic straw.
I get so excited.
I know she does. I can see that. Good
Got it.
job
We can
mulching.
make a scarecrow. By the way, do scarecrows actually work?
Nah,
Is that
they
just a
work
myth?
for our soul.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's garden art.
Got
Whatever
it.
keeps you in your garden works.
Okay. All
Okay?
right.
If it's scarecrows, that's great. But this is tomato would be for you to go home with, is what I'm saying. She's not gonna, yes. Give it another day on the counter to ripen. Never ripen in the fridge.
I'm going to pretend I grew this.
Of course, well, you can.
Judy, tell me, what is your favorite thing to make with tomatoes?
Seasoned dried tomato slices. Ooh, they're
That sounds
absolutely
very fancy.
wonderful. I have an American Harvester dehydrator.
Okay.
It's so
You can
easy.
dehydrate tomatoes.
Oh, but they work so well. So I spread the slices out, and then I sprinkle them with some organic no-salt seasoning.
Do you dare me to try this? Because I have a dehydrator.
I think you should try
I'm
it.
going to try this.
This is fabulous.
Thank you for all the amazing tips today. I'm so excited for the fall. And give us like a little recap.
So during this segment, we talked about ways that you can maintain your garden, keep warm season crops going a little bit, but also realize that there's more than one season during the year. So as
There's 4, right?
Yeah, there really are. I think sometimes we only celebrate
Yeah.
summer, the season of proliferating crops. But during this season of the year, when we have a little bit cooling temperatures, we can replant certain crops for fall that we did in spring. And most importantly at all, I think we can celebrate the fact that we've learned 1 or 2 new things. It seems to me that you've fallen in love with the hori-hori
I do
there.
like the hori-hori.
I've fallen in love with the winged weeder here. But I'm also celebrating the fact that fall is a time when we can really celebrate the changing of leaves, learn to use them as a resource, and realizing most important to me is that gardening's not a race. It's not about the biggest tomato, but it's about learning one more thing each year, not making the same mistake each year, and perhaps most to me, finding that place of reflection and peace that allows me and the soil to deepen our roots.
I will cheers to that. Cheers.
Cheers to the season of deepening roots. We're just continuing to have fun, aren't we?
Oh my gosh.
Your phone. Tomato plant, come on over
Right.
here
Oh,
real quickly.
watch out. By the way, if you would like to support Doug, you can head on over to their website where they also have so many great fall workshops so that you can sign up for. And we will see you there. Happy gardening.
Today, in our Business of Colorado segment, we're taking a deeper look into the role that artificial intelligence is playing in our classrooms across the state.
PBS 12's Franny Matthews interviewed 3 Colorado superintendents from Canyon City, Durango, and Estes Park to learn how these school districts are using AI and discuss what the future holds. Here's more with Franny.
Thank you, Ryan and Bozzy. At the Elevate AI pilot kickoff, I had the chance to meet with 3 superintendents from across Colorado to discuss the future of education. Artificial intelligence is becoming a bigger presence in our schools. Colorado's new pilot helps teachers and students learn to use AI tools. The goals are simple: enhance learning, support teachers, prepare students for what's next. Here's what the superintendents had to say. So tell me about how your early background kind of drove you to where you are in education.
It's my first year teaching. It was 30 years ago this year, 30 school years ago. And at the end of the day, I found myself outside of the school complaining about a student to the principal. And I was complaining about his lack of education. I was complaining about his behavior. I know that I complained about his parents. I complained about all these things. And then the principal was patient and he just let me do that. And then his name's Dave. And Dave said, you know what, Adam? Those people sent the best kid they've got to our school today. And it was one of the most important moments for like my whole career, because it really changed my thinking around what I can control and the way that I approach the work and how I want to be around positivity and ownership in the work. So I just think, I mean, now all these years later, my journey is a little unusual. I was never a building principal. I found myself as a superintendent, and I'm thankful for that opportunity, but I'm very serious that when we do work, that we're thinking about all kids, that we're not making excuses, and there are no exceptions to the work. So that's a cool question.
It's very interesting that you've had 10 years as a science teacher or so, right? What does that experience do as you look at using AI in education?
I'm so excited that being part of this cohort, we've focused on teacher training and equipping teachers with the tools that they need. And starting there, I believe, is the right way to go.
I'm generalizing a little bit, but I think there is some truth that some of our more veteran educators are feeling more apprehension around this, whereas some of our younger educators are coming in with greater confidence around tech in general, but certainly AI.
Seeing the challenge that teachers have in the field of education, year after year after year, we've been asking teachers to do more, and we're not taking anything off their plate. And so, starting myself as teaching 5 different preps, 5 different subjects, having to plan for 5 different disciplines every day, that's a lot. And focusing on supporting those teachers so that they can support the students, I believe is the right direction. And so what excites me is what I'm seeing about this is that the teachers are moving from fear of AI to curiosity.
I do believe we can harness AI to really power up and fuel the work that we know is most critical for students. So we can use it to personalize, to differentiate, to provide opportunities and project plans for students. We can use it to help our leaders, our teachers be more productive. We can also use it to better communicate with our families, to better bring people together. So that's my hope, that while it'll be a critical tool, it will not be the driver, and that we can bring more humanness and connection to our schools.
I'm excited about a lot of things with AI. So we did not blink. I mean, we started learning that there were going to be some opportunities with AI. We are not a district that decided that we were going to do any sort of policy making around the restriction of its use or otherwise. But we did decide, hey, we might really benefit from being part of a pilot group who's thinking about a statement, like making a statement not only to our community, but also to our students and our teachers to help them understand kind of our position with the work. How do we make this a reality for all? So now I'm thinking about the very specific things in the classroom and how you might be able to support students. They were talking about translation skills specifically. Well, there's a real beauty around the idea that we're able to use AI now to provide things such as translation skills.
We have a really high number of multilingual students in our school in particular, and it's growing, where we don't have very many educators that are bilingual. We have about 30% of our population that is Spanish speaking in the home, and and that's the language that they're most fluent in. But very few of our teachers speak Spanish, so the quick ability to translate for those students, it keeps them engaged and involved and belonging to the classroom, where before they may have disengaged because they didn't understand the language that was being exchanged in the classroom, which delayed and gave them pause. And so now immediately they're able to engage and interact with the teacher and the other students and feel like they're part of the classroom and they belong. So it's increased in accessibility for many of our students, our multilingual learners, our students with disabilities.
Can you tell me a little bit about what excites you, what the possibilities are?
So I've really embraced technology my entire career, whether it was working with teachers, oh gosh, in the 90s on Hyper Studio, to actually teaching courses in information science for the University of Kentucky, to starting robotics teams in every district that I've been in, and being a coach for robotics myself. And I'm passionate about growing maker spaces for kids and making sure they have maker tech. So AI is just a natural extension of that, making sure that every single student has opportunity and access. You know, we know that many times if girls aren't excited about STEM and tech, AI, those different kinds of tools, robotics, by 4th grade, they won't go into it. They won't go into those high pay, high growth careers. They're not excited, especially also students from other underrepresented populations. If they don't feel confident, if they don't feel enthusiastic about it, then we are taking away those entire career opportunities from them. So I do feel passionate about making sure all of our students have that access, have that education, that it's embedded in everything we do, that we help them to create, to dream, to operationalize, to code. So that really, when we're talking about AI at this point, this is maybe not so much the newest, but probably the most critical set of tools and strategies that we can provide our kids.
Are there some misconceptions that are out there that you've had to overcome on integrating AI into the classroom?
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, there are some misconceptions. I think that when AI started getting a lot of attention inside of the field of education, there was concern right away around concepts of cheating. And I don't think that it's wrong that people would start to ask questions around authenticity and who wrote this, and I'll speak to that because there is a fear that as a leader I do have a fear around that. But one of the misconceptions I think that people are thinking is that we've somehow just kind of taken our hands off of the reins, and that now that it's just a very much a wild, wild west kind of situation where we're not providing guidance, and that there aren't safeguards in place, and that all students are cheating, and that teachers are no longer. That's not true. And again, that's kind of what's been exciting about coming toward this as what's our statement of belief? What are our intended outcomes for our kids, their families, and our people, our own people, that we can provide a framework around that now we know actually how we're going to support people to understand those parameters, our expected outcomes and otherwise, so that it's not just all over the place.
And so I think there is this misconception that is cheating. Yes, students might be using sort of AI to scaffold their learning, to create that beginning sort of outline or draft, and they may overuse it. But it's really incumbent upon us as educators to then look for other ways for them to demonstrate their learning.
Misconceptions that I noticed amongst staff and parents was, I think the immediate one was, this will replace teachers in the classroom, which I don't believe will ever be true. I mean, we can't. Teachers are the experts. AI is not the expert. It's a tool, but the teacher uses all the tools available to them, including AI, to best design for learning. Teachers are designers. They're the creative mind, and that can't be replaced. So them being the experts, knowing what it is students need to know and be able to do, they now have another tool at their fingertips to make choices and decisions for how students are best going to engage with that learning target in the classroom. And it may be AI, it may not. I think another misconception right off the bat was that all of our classrooms need to be super high-tech now. There's a place for high-tech classrooms. There's a place for analog spaces where students can learn to be creative and have hands-on experience and engage in that real authentic human connection and relationship and social emotional learning, which is so important. when we do it well, we have all of those spaces. And we choose what the space looks like based on what it is that we want students to know and be able to do, what that learning target is. And AI really gives us powerful tools to maximize that design for our instruction in the classrooms.
When the first article started going in the newspaper a couple of years ago that, the school district's using AI, yeah, we got some pushback. People saying, oh my gosh, you're doing something damaging and harmful to our students. How do you have the expertise to be able to do this? And we quickly responded. We put out guidelines from the very beginning. We have a tech scope and sequence, so it's very clear what students are using and learning at every grade level and what they're not, right? We're making sure they're not using tools that they are not at an age to use. And so it's that constant communication. It's when we're in those meetings and building those relationships, whether it's at Rotary or a chamber meeting, that we're bringing this up, that we're answering questions. And I think that's what's helped us be successful, is always point to the why, always make sure our community knows that we're preparing our students for the future we're not sure about, and that AI is an important tool in making sure every one of our students have opportunity and access for that.
It's one of the biggest fears. This is going to replace learning. That, it's going to circumvent learning for kids. Kids are going to be using these tools now. They won't be doing the critical thinking. They won't be engaging at a high level and doing the learning. AI will do the learning for them. So we were really intentional in our training to teach our staff how to use these tools, not to circumvent learning or replace learning, but to use these tools to enhance learning and opportunities for students so that they were still the creative thinkers, the collaborators in the classroom, the critical thinkers in the classroom, rather than having AI replace learning. And so that's something we should continue to be cautious about. And it's one of the challenges with it, is being able to use it for learning instead of circumventing it.
Learning is one of the most beautiful things that we get to do just as humans, is to explore and learn new things. And authentic, high-quality learning sometimes comes through a little bit of productive struggle. We want our students and ourselves as learners to have to go through a little bit of struggle, because repeating easy things over and over and over ultimately doesn't grow any of us. And one of the misconceptions, I think, is that AI inherently is going to reduce the productive struggle to the point where there's no learning going on.
When you look at years out, let's say 5 years out, where do you see AI being implemented in education?
I think it will be an integrated part of every single classroom, and it will just be part of the daily life of teaching with these tools. It is exciting to think about where it might be in 5 years, considering how quickly it's developed now. We're already seeing it embedded in curriculum that's out there. We're seeing it used in our daily lives. So rather than avoid it or run from it, we need to learn more about it. And our focus as a teaching staff will be on teaching students how to be responsible users of it, ethical users of it, how to identify bias within our AI platforms and tools, and be conscious consumers.
4 years ago, no one was talking about AI, at least not in my space. 3 years ago, next month, I was at a conference and they were like, go to this website and you'll find example of, right? 2 years ago, our classrooms had been impacted. We're jumping in with this pilot work. We are in a markedly different place now than we were even then. There are districts who attempted to write policy around this and later were like, you know what, the speed at which this is changing, you can't write policy. So to ask about 5 years is something that I almost can't comprehend how much different that'll be.
Our best hope for our graduates is that they will be lifelong learners for the rest of their life into the future. It's about loving learning, enjoying learning, and you have to. That happens through authentic spaces in the classroom, which is what our teachers create as the designers of those environments.
Learning for life for us as the school district, the people who represent Canyon City Schools. I want us to be engaged in thinking about learning and continuing to learn and revisit our practices and get better at what we do, and to keep doing that forever. We're learning for life.
We have the alpha generation in our schools right now. And these are students who, yeah, they've grown up with tech. They've You know, they have grit, they have perseverance, and they've also grown up with some, pretty big world problems. And they're sort of saying, hey adults, you didn't fix this, so I'm gonna have to do it. And so they want to make an impact. They want to solve problems. And in order to do that, problems we've never seen before, right? We had the pandemic, we have divisiveness, we have climate crises. Our students are gonna have to solve that. And the skills they're gonna need are not necessarily the skills that you might have been able to find in a dictionary encyclopedia in the past. They are those skills like creative problem solving and agile thinking and resilient risk taking. That's what's going to solve the world problems. And that's what our students today are especially poised to do.
I think one of the most interesting pieces of this story is the effect this has on multilingual students and the advances that they will have by using this AI.
It's nice to hear the positives, but also as a parent, I appreciate that they acknowledge some of the challenges of this new technology. We'll have to keep our eyes on those as well.
AI, just in its infancy right now.
Yes. Well, to learn more, you can visit the AI and Colorado Education page of the Colorado Education Initiative, a website that you can see shown here.
Next up, on Colorado Inside Out, Kyle Dyer guided a conversation about the toll tariffs are taking on Colorado businesses.
And some new state data that confirm the economic strain. Take a look.
Hi, Bozzy and Ryan. You know, there have been a lot of ifs and whens in terms of the effect of tariffs on Colorado, and many Coloradans are already experiencing them. But now the state is sharing data, numbers, which our insiders discussed on our latest episode of Colorado Inside Out. Governor Polis sent out a press release on Thursday morning saying that he had figures to show the disastrous effect the tariffs are having on Colorado. Marianne, you went right over to that press conference.
I did. There were a couple of key points that the governor focused on. Number one, a year ago, the tariff level on the United States from other countries was about 3%. It has increased sevenfold under President Trump. We're now at about 21% tariffs from other countries, and that's on average. Some of them are much higher than that. The other one was the impact that this has on the state's economy. GDP before the tariffs was about 2%, and that's decent growth. It is dropping, and it's dropping fast. By next year, they predict it will be 0.5%, and that's considered stagnant. That's stagnant GDP growth. And if there is any, and that's with the tariffs at the current level that they're at. If they escalate, the prediction is that we will be in recession real quick. The last point I want to make is the impact on one particular sector, and that's the agriculture sector. Colorado's #1 export across all industries is beef. And our beef industry has now lost 25% of its exports to other countries, with China leading the pack.
Well, the fact of the matter is things are very fluid. Even now, negotiations are going at the federal level. So it's not, we don't really know what the tariff situation is going to look like in 3 months, 6 months, a year out. What we do know, of course, is that if there's a high trade barrier, that's not good for businesses that are exporting. Some win, some lose, but I think for the most part, people agree that if that barriers are pretty high for global trade, an economy like the United States, which especially Colorado, which exports a lot, will lose out.
Christy.
So I think when you see Polis's press conference, you see the governor kind of stepping in line with Phil Weiser and Janet Griswold and doing his own way of attacking the Trump administration. And what I think is missing from his talk on the tariffs, and of course there's going to be an economic impact to Colorado, that's unquestionable. But what you see missing is his plan. He's the governor of Colorado. What is he going to do to take steps to help businesses in Colorado? We just saw a special session where he signed bills that raised taxes on businesses across Colorado. Some of these same businesses he's now claiming are affected by tariffs. So you can't really throw all the blame on the federal government and say, oh my goodness, we're gonna have a recession here in Colorado, economic downturn. Why are restaurants leaving Colorado? That was well before the tariffs. I think he would be better served, instead of holding press conferences like this, to form a blue collar commission and have people who work in a lot of these industries come together and come up with real solutions on how to cut the cost of living in Colorado, because clearly the legislature and the governor aren't doing it. Maybe real people who work in these sectors could figure out a plan and propose it to the government.
Marianne, did he say kind of a what's next, a game plan?
The one thing that he did focus on is a lawsuit that has been filed by Colorado on this tariffs issue, and then a lot of other states have joined in on this too. Supreme Court goes back to work first Monday in October. The Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to weigh in on the tariff situation. So there is a hope, I think, that the Supreme Court will not take a positive view on this tariff situation. The other hope is that Congress could develop a spine. I know, and they have the authority to rein in the president on this tariff issue. They haven't shown any inclination to do that just yet, but they could do that through the spending proposals that they're now working on for the next budget year.
Did he say anything that we as a state could do?
No.
Okay.
It's he says that there's going to be pushback, but he would, other than mentioning the lawsuits and the and actions by Congress and keeping our congressional delegation informed. This is going to everybody. That I think remains to be seen.
The lawsuits. That's all we have these days, it seems like.
Well, dozens of them, over 3 dozen of them. And it's fascinating as the judges keep coming down with decisions right and left over the Venezuelan gangs and everyone else. We don't know where the tariff lawsuit will go. I think Polis is really setting the stage. After he came out of the special session, and we know things are grim, he'd warned that it was going to be grimmer, the 50% chance of recession. I would suspect he does have a plan. He doesn't normally just do a press conference at this time of year just to do one. So I'm thinking there might be something more down the line. But we have to remember, we're not the only state suffering. And the restaurants, it's not just the minimum wage in Colorado. It's how much food costs. How much food and supplies are going up, not just in Colorado, but across the country. And that is a major, major factor at restaurants now. When you look at how much the price of beef has gone up. And restaurants are saying, it's added 50% to my food costs, but I can only add like $2. That's all that the market will bear. And it's a really, really tough time for restaurants.
That was just one of the topics we discussed on the latest episode of Colorado Inside Out. There are 3 others, so check out the entire show on pbs12.org, the PBS Passport app, or on the CIO YouTube channel. Or if you're a fan of podcasts, you can check out the conversation every week on Apple or Spotify. And yes, there's already a show in the works for this Friday, so join us at 8 here on PBS 12. Have a great week.
And that's a wrap on tonight's Studio 12. We're closing things out with an electrifying set.
Live from the High Dive on South Broadway, it's Los Alcos, bringing psychedelic Latin rock packed with fiery jams and high-energy fusion.
Led by Papa David Alcocer on those Santana-style guitars, and his son, Alex Alcocer, driving it home with his multi-instrumental setup.
Here's Los Alcos with their Familia and friends, keeping the groove alive. I'm Ryan Harrer.
And I'm Bazi Kanani. Have a good night.
Thank you. it's not too often that you get a father and son duo leading a band. How did that start?
Well, I guess really this guy is pretty awesome and got a great musical career. He played with the Drifters as a touring guitarist. He played in many prog rock bands in San Antonio, Heyoka being the most prevalent. They opened for Blue Oyster Cult, and a whole long list that would take too long. It would just take up forever to give Papa Alco all his flowers. But this man truly started the band by being just an awesome shredder and falling in love with Mama Alco, and I was born. And there was no pressure for me to play music. I wasn't forced to do lessons or anything. I just lived in a very open, musical playground. And it took me a long time to kind of get into writing. I was a drummer first. Papa and I would play forever, covers, parties. I was, just a two-man band like that. But then I kind of grew on my own and was going and playing in bands, and eventually I started writing my own songs and was like, I know this guy who's really good at guitar, so
I got a guy.
I've known him my whole life, so.
Alex asked me one day, Dad, what are you doing? I said, no, I'm playing in a cover band and I do some Heyoka stuff now and again. He says, forget that, come and join my band. I said, great idea, okay. And that's how it really started.
And I left Austin. I was like, this isn't the place for me anymore. And I came to Denver. I kind of put the band on ice. I mean, it was the pandemic, but everyone was like, let's still do this, dude. FaceTime me right now. Send me a song. My dad was like, come on, dude. I have this Mac you taught me how to use. And he's just going crazy on GarageBand. And I'm like, well, I guess shows are going to happen again, after you kind of get out of the funk and you're like, Denver's not that far from Austin and Denver has a great scene. So we kind of survived the pandemic in that way and then finished our album with just that attitude.
Thank you, Denver.
We are Los Alcos. Thank you,
Thank you,
PBS
High
12.
Dive.
Thank you, High Dive. Thank you, beautiful audience. We are Los Alcos. See you soon.